We got off to a better start. I mean, I think that's where I would start is, what's that? Yeah, don't worry about them. They're not going to quiet down. They won the game. Let them celebrate. You don't need to hear from me. We'll talk over them. They got off to a much better start. I mean, I think we made a case in point how important it was to get off to a better start. Obviously the great drive to start. And then we made, too many mistakes on the ensuing UCLA drive, which were maddening. But all of their points in the first half were just mistakes that are all correctable mistakes, and we corrected them in the second half and played, really well in the second half. Controlled the second half. I think we had 2 drives that were 90-plus drives. I think that's hadn't done that here in over 20 years. So over 20 years. Who's been here for over 20 years? Yeah, you guys don't. You raise your hand, but you don't know. I'm giving you the information for the first time because you guys act like you've been here for 20 years. No, I knew it. I knew it. Anyway, those 2 drives obviously, were key in terms of, just setting the tone for the game. We controlled the line of scrimmage and, ran the football, threw it, had some key third down conversions. And then defensively, we got off the field. We had the key sack and drove them out of field goal range and played complimentary football. So wish we were cleaner in the first half. The mistakes are maddening. We got to clean them up. We're going to continue to work. No, those are the guys we got. There's nobody getting traded. We're not, those are the guys we're going to work with, and we're going to just keep coaching them. And we're going to keep working with them, and they're going to turn the corner in terms of listening and trusting, and we're going to keep working on how to put them in a better position as coaches and get ready for South Alabama. But it was a good win, and pleased with the group in terms of the way they started. So with that, we'll open up the questions.
Coach, how's Harold Perkins?
He's injured. We don't know. I mean, we'll do all the diagnostic testing tonight and tomorrow, and we'll have a better answer for you when we do our presser on Monday.
And with Mason Taylor, he's been, I guess, a very consistent security blanket for you guys offensively. How important is it to have a guy like him?
Yeah, nobody talked about him coming into the season. I thought he was unheralded. You guys didn't talk about him. The national media didn't talk about him. Now you guys start talking about him because he's the all-time leading receiver in LSU history. And now all of a sudden you want to talk about Mason Taylor. Where were you guys talking about him earlier in the season? You were talking about everybody else but Mason Taylor. So now he's the leading receiver you want to talk about. I don't want to talk about him.
Coach, in the first half, you went into the locker room at 17-17, and in the second half, your defense clamped down and shut them out in the second half. What changes did your defense make?
They didn't make any changes. They executed the defenses that were called, and execution is attention to detail, doing your job. DYJ. Do your job. That's an acronym. DYJ. And they just we need to do our job, and they did it in the second half. And if we just continue to do our job on defense in particular, now offensively we had some key drops, right? I mean, we got to catch the football, and we got to make the timely calls offensively. We got to coach it, but doing our job on defense was the biggest difference from the first half to the second half.
Coach, right here. You talk about Savion Jones and Braden Swinson. I know the front seven played well, throughout the game. But what do those guys give you, and how has Coach Peoples just really unlocked their pass rush moves?
Well, I think that a lot of credit should go to Coach Peoples and his ability to teach the technique necessary for 2 different kinds of players. Swinson's 238, 240 pounds if he eats and takes all his supplements like he's supposed to each week, which sometimes doesn't happen. But we stay on him to make sure he does that. He'll be in here in a little bit, and he can comment on that, to ask him about him taking his supplements and making sure that he eats all the time. But my point being is that's a guy who's a lot lighter, and then you have a 275-pound defensive end. They are clearly different players. And he's been able to take two different players with different skill sets and give them the ability to pass rush using different techniques. I think he's done a terrific job. And both those guys have too. Let's face it. It takes two to tango. Both those guys have really worked their craft and have been extremely coachable. And we're starting to see those efforts come to fruition.
Coach, apparently there were a number of fans who needed medical attention, and that side of the stadium is tough for those fans with the sun and everything. Do you have any thoughts on day games in September here in the South?
My comments would be, the TV schedule is something that I have no control over. I'm sure our administration gets a chance to weigh in. We would prefer, later games, but we're beholden to what the national audience is. That's the best I can do. I feel bad. I hope everybody is okay. I did see visually that there weren't many people in the stands over there because the sun is obviously pounding on them. I don't know what the plans are. I know Kelly's in is here. She probably can give you a little bit more information on the retractable roof that we're talking about. Maybe not. She can field questions about that later. No, I'm kidding. There's no retractable roof. But yours is a serious matter, and I get it. But I really don't have much say on that in terms of the games.
Brian, you talked about the progress from one half to the second. Are you comfortable with the progress 4 games into this season that your team is making?
Yeah, we've played 3 out of 4 teams that are Power 4, Power 4, Power 5, conferences, however you want to put it. I don't want to disrespect any of the conferences, but, it's been a process for us, in terms of, I think we found our stride in terms of what we want to do offensively. I think we saw that today. We did some really good things defensively. The difference is we're pressuring, we're getting turnovers, we're doing some really good things defensively, and then it's just maddening some of the silly mistakes that we're making on defense that just have to go away as we get, we're going to get a really good South Alabama team in there. Major Applewhite's originally from this area. He's going to have that football team raring to go. And, we saw how hard Nicholls State played. South Alabama has got a lot of talent. They got some young players that are really good. We got to be ready for that football team. And then we get into, the meat of the schedule. So, we've made some improvements, but we got a ways to go. So continuing to develop our football team so we do the little things the right way. There's enough talent out here to contend for an SEC championship. We got to clean up the little mistakes.
Already talked about finding something offensively. It seems like a lot of that's Garrett, especially on those 2 really long drives. Did he show you anything else, or was really just that the recipe for y'all offensively moving forward, kind of putting the ball in his hands?
Well, it certainly is. The quarterback is this, the straw that stirs every drink in college football in terms of, anybody that you're talking about that is an outstanding football program, you're going to start talking about the quarterback first. You're not talking about him last. So Garrett Nussmeier is that guy for us. But he has a supporting cast. I think he has a really good offensive line. I think they keep him clean. I think they keep him protected. I think they allow him to do his job. He certainly has areas to grow. I think we've got to get better in the run game recognition. I think that our receivers are showing some signs. Chris was, a game time decision that we didn't, play him because we didn't see that he added enough to what we wanted to do. We thought that, we could get it from other areas. And so, there's another guy that we expect back maybe next week, full go, where we can get another vertical threat, those weapons. And then, again, you're seeing, the backs all running better, and Caden Durham obviously catching the ball out of the backfield and with his speed breaking away and making a big play. So he's got the weapons necessary, but he is the guy that makes it happen. Absolutely.
Aaron Anderson got involved early in this game. Just your thoughts on his performance today.
He's been consistent for us, a consistent ball catcher, a guy that's been one that I think has made steady improvement. He had a bad, lockup with his back on Wednesday where he couldn't practice at all. And really proud of the way he fought through it, practiced a little bit on Thursday, and then just did all the right things to get himself in the right mindset to play here on Saturday. So really proud of Aaron's development, both on and off the field, where he can come in and overcome, a back that kind of locked up on him and come up and make an impact on Saturday.
Brian, if Harold isn't able to go next week or potentially even longer, how do you guys help the guys around him not allow that to be something that really factors into how they play? Obviously, with him being a big piece, a leader on that side of the ball, how do you not allow that to get them down?
Yeah, we've got great leaders with Greg Penn. We hope he's okay, but, we've got Greg Penn. We've got, Whit Weeks. West will be back next week, which he's played really good football for us. So we can still stay in our Buffalo package. We can go back into our dime package. We're dropping Major down. So we've got a lot of options there. We hope he's okay. We hope he's back for us. But we'll be able to move into other packages that resemble what we've been doing.
Yeah, you guys have improved your run game a lot since the beginning of the season. Can
Thank you. I think you're the only one that realizes that, other than the 800 million people that want us to run it better. But thank you.
Can you just talk to me a little bit about what's changed for you guys in that aspect?
I just think opportunity, and I think our backs are seeing it better. Part of the running game is the comfortability of those backs to really see holes and make some people miss. And again, that's not a veteran group, other than Josh. Those are young players that are, gradually coming into their own. And I think, it was difficult to run today. I don't know if you guys watched the game at all. If you did, you saw backers up all day, crowding the line of scrimmage, making it very difficult, but they gave us the ability to throw the ball. I don't know, what did we throw for, 350? When you're throwing for 350, plus, it means the box is loaded and it's hard to run it. But we still found a way when it was time to run the ball, especially down by the goal line, we exerted our will, and that was what we did. And thanks again for the running question. We don't get many of those around here, which is crazy, but thank you.
All right, shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of Tough Tiger Talk. The recap aside of things, man, big ups to the fam, man. Listen, man, LSU, man, we started kind of rocky. I mean, credit to UCLA making it a ball game early, but ultimately we're able to.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture.
But shout out to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream, man. It was a very interesting game, man, to be honest with you. UCLA made this thing kind of difficult early, didn't they, fam? They really did. They made it very competitive at halftime. LSU had to eventually lay the smackdown on this team, blanking them in the second half, scoring 17 points versus nothing. So LSU was able to make the proper adjustments at halftime, come out and close the game. But it was a costly one, man. Harold Perkins ended up limping off the field, man. They took him into the tent, looked at him, and then he had a towel over his head. So we'll see what's going on. They reported it as an ankle issue, an ankle injury to Harold Perkins. So a nice win beating UCLA, but ultimately we'll see where we are with Harold Perkins, man. So that'll be a big point we need to pay attention to, Tiger family. Anyway, let's move into the breakdown of the game, man. Pretty much in terms of the statistics, LSU 10 of 15 on third downs versus 5 of 12 by UCLA, 27-17 first downs, LSU 454 total yards versus 295 by UCLA. The passing attack 352 to 281, as you see there. They had with Garrett Nussmeier averaged 8 yards per throw. Garbers averaged almost 8 yards a throw as well. He did have the interception. And the big thing that LSU was able to do was stop them from running the football. They basically one-dimensionalized UCLA, but 102 rushing yards by LSU today off of 28 rushing attempts. 3.6, not a great average, but they, like I said, 14 yards by UCLA on 22 attempts, 0.6. That was awful. LSU 5 penalties for 22 yards versus UCLA 9 for 80. in the matchup, and it was basically a game of two halves. To be honest with you, very competitive UCLA in the first half, and then LSU just turned the spigot off. 33-48 on time possession versus 26-12 by UCLA. And to give credit what credit's due, it was a solid performance by Garrett Nussmeier, who continues to thrive at the QB position. He was 32 of 44 for 350 plus yards, 3 touchdowns. Top backs, Josh Williams, 13 carries for 62 yards, almost 5 yards in average. He had a touchdown. Caleb Jackson, 6 for 26, 4.3. Caden Durham came in there, 6 carries for 14 yards, 2.3. He had a few good plays there. And of course, you look at the receivers, Mason Taylor, 8 catches for 77 yards in the game. Aaron Anderson, 6 for 75. You see CJ Daniels make some good plays, 6 for 56. Kyle Parker had a 1 catch, but he took it to the house, 1 for 45 in the score. Caden Durham, 2 for 40, 1 touchdown. He scored. Kyron Lacey, 3 for 23. Caleb Jackson, 3 for 23 as well. So, like I said, it was a game of two halves pretty much, as Ethan Gerbers finished 22 of 36 for 281. He was basically out there by himself. The running attack really wasn't where it was for UCLA, and Eric Bieniemy had a little chess game going on early on, and then the LSU got to business. You seen Coach Kelly and the rest of the staff, they just got kind of pissed and shut off everything Bieniemy had going on, man, and just pushed them on out of here. All right, LSU wins again, man. We get the win. We go up 3-1, 2-0 in SEC play. Of course, the next matchup will be against South Alabama. So we'll have to be able to see what happens in that matchup as well. But I don't think, even though I've seen what they did previously, put up a ton of points on them. But today, I think they were able to get a win. They beat Appalachian State. I want to say that they did. I have to look into it, but 2-2. That'll be 2-2 for them. And yes, they beat App State today 48-14. So they're 2-2. And about a week ago, I think it was, they beat the crap out of Northwest State 87-10. You know, so they started the season off 0-2, losing to North Texas and South and Ohio, and then they stumped Northwest State 87-10, and they beat App State 48-14. So they got a good vibe going now. They come into Death Valley. It's Saturday, September the 28th, 6:45 afternoon game going on between the South Alabama squad, the Jaguars. So that'll be interesting going forward for the team. But anyway, thoughts on this game, man, to be honest with you, was, like I said, the LSU, it was a very competitive game early that was going on with us against UCLA. And the defense just wasn't there early on, you know. We was getting beat here, we was getting beat there, and UCLA was just moving the ball pretty effortlessly. They scored the touchdown. They had a good vibe with them. And heads was kind of turning here a little bit. Then halftime kicked in, I think, and then Coach Kelly lit them up like a Christmas tree. They come out there and just shut it off, and then scored 17-0 in the second half and basically pushed UCLA out of the door to get the third win of the season. So we're through a month worth of games, fam. That's the 4th game today. The Tigers are 3-1 and ranked currently at number 16. They could possibly climb depending on how everything shell out. So big ups to you guys. Appreciate you being here in the live stream as well. Much love to the fam, man. This was a pretty good one, man. This is a pretty good one. Excited. I ain't expect. I'm gonna be honest with you. Y'all tell me what y'all think. But I wasn't expecting LSU to. I thought it'd be, LSU would come out just kind of. I ain't gonna say manhandle UCLA, but I was looking at some of the stuff that was happening with them before, and I wasn't really impressed, to be honest with you, with what I was seeing from these guys. But lo and behold, UCLA made it a game. It made it more interesting than I thought it was, and then ultimately LSU they did what they did. So Coach Foster has to go and figure a way out for his squad, but my squad, we got the dub tonight. So anyway, big ups to the fam, man. Appreciate y'all being in the stream. Truth says, hope the Saints watch this game and keep tabs on the UCLA punter dude. Is like Michael. Yeah, he was kicked. He was really punting his ass off, dude. He was doing a really good job. Yeah, so should run yeah, they were trying. I think they were trying to stack pack with Gus Nuss with Nuss Bus, man. I think they would kind of pile up some stats right quick for him. I think because at the pub was like, man, why is he still in the game? Why didn't we already move him out and put somebody else in the game by this much? But they was doing a little stat pack. Oh man, but anyway, man, it was a good matchup. It was a good win for our squad, man. We get another dub. We get another opponent next week we got to take care of before we get back into a really tough matchup, going forward against teams like Ole Miss and all these guys. But LSU just keep improving. But the biggest staple here, fam, we get a win over UCLA. But, man, what's up with Harold Perkins? And, what could the defense do? Because hopefully it's not too bad losing Harold, man, because that's a big one, fam. That's a big one. So we'll just have to monitor and see what it looks like. So South Alabama next Saturday. And following that, you're looking at October the 12th matchup against Ole Miss, who currently ranked at number 5. And then we kind of get back into filling out the rest of our SEC schedule. The home game, the third of the home games, October the 12th against Ole Miss. Then we have 2 away from Arkansas, Texas A&M. That's nationally ranked. We come home November the 9th against Alabama, and then go back on the road for Florida, and then home for Vanderbilt, and in the season finale against a good Oklahoma squad. So a lot of stuff going on in the SEC. And Nuss is just doing this thing, man. And they did a little stat packing, man, with Garrett Nussmeier. Yeah. All right. So anyway, man, listen, man. Shout out to y'all for being in the building, man. On this one, man, we're gonna see what goes on with Harold. Later on, we'll play the post game from Coach Kelly and find out what his thoughts on as he recaps this matchup here. All right, so anyway, let me hit the comment section. Rose says Brian Kelly face is now punchable. This season has been different from Brian Kelly. Y'all notice that, man? Y'all notice that? Y'all notice what Brian Kelly looks like now? Like, does he appear like he's enjoying it? I don't know, man. This year it's a lot of. It looks like he's a lot more tense. Like the first year versus the second year. And then you got, him coming into this year, and it's just like Coach Kelly's a lot more tense, man. I guess he's feeling the pressure here in Death Valley, man. It's a real thing going on here. And a guy is such a winner as him, man, listen, man, I like Coach Kelly. I like where he has this team headed. This is a young team. It's a new system. They spent a lot of money hiring coaches, especially our defensive coordinator, Coach Baker. Our defensive line coach, all of the assistant coaches, man, they're some of the best in the nation. Like I said, LSU spent a lot of money, man, on this, on coaches. They got a lot of good talent. And like I said, this year, we'll see how it goes. But next year is what I'm looking at. We get Underwood in here and all the fantastic recruits we have. I think that's when things really start getting fun, and expectations. It could be real good. True says, I'm trying not even think about other teams as far tougher than lesser teams we struggle with. They still learning, bro. LSU's first half defense just put the fries in the bag. Yes, indeed. Big Boy says wasn't expecting for it to be this close in the first. No, I wasn't either, bro. I didn't expect UCLA. I was like, man, who the hell is this? Because UCLA, man, if you watch the previous game, they had a few drives, but man, this team was very motivated. They just didn't play a full game of football. And, I heard what the broadcaster was saying about they were using all of these Rocky, all these motivational things to try to, they were talking about Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson and all this kind of stuff to kind of get the team pumped up for this game. And it worked for one half. It worked for one half, just not good enough. I think they got to keep recruiting, man. We'll see what goes on, but I don't know, bro. That's the thing. I don't know. I think that's what it is, too. I was thinking Coach Kelly was leaving them in there, throwing the ball. I think that's what it is. There's a LSU, and even the commentators made this reference when they talked about Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, and now you got Garrett Nussmeier next, and then Underwood coming up soon. So it's like they're trying to give that impression that LSU is a team that just breeds Heisman style quarterbacks. I mean, Burrow and Jaden Daniels. Matter of fact, they play this week. That is crazy to see that. And even though I don't like any of those teams, I mean, I do like my guys, like Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. That's going to be a phenomenal game between the Bengals and the Commanders. That's our guys there at the quarterback position, man. But I don't know if I can say at this point that Nussmeier, is a guy that should be a Heisman hopeful. I mean, he's playing. Listen, Garrett Nussmeier he looks good in there. He really does. He looks good in there. But is it Heisman? I would have to say no, not yet. In matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up. Hey, hold on here. Let me get some of his statistics right now. Let's put Nuss on the board. Here you go. This is Nuss on the board. As you can see, man, his numbers, I don't think those are the complete numbers. Are they? Let's see. Let me get his true stats as of live stuff going on as it stands right now through these games. And this is what his numbers look like. Yeah, they're saying that's it. Okay. All right. So far, let's see. He's 81 out of 1. Is that? I don't know. Right. Okay. Almost 70% completion percentage, almost 1,000 yards passing. He averages 8 yards a throw. So far during the season, he's already up to 10 touchdowns. And he has a QBR of 159.6 and against 2 interceptions. So pretty good numbers right now. I guess it's a little too early right now. I don't think the Heisman people got him on their list just yet. I don't know. But remember, that was like what they were talking about with they were mentioning Jaden Daniels when he was doing with it. Remember, it was a stink about, man, shouldn't Jaden Daniels be on there? And Jaden Daniels was doing all this stuff, doing all of the fantastic stuff he was doing, and they weren't saying anything about that. So I would have to say at this point, I would have to say no, in terms of him being on their list. But, that kind of changes though. But I think they got the Heisman watch. I know, let's see, Quinn Ewers is on there from, let's see if I can bring it on. Let me see if I can pull up an article from me right here, because this was just done the other day. But that's something that we have to keep a look at, big boy. That might be something we need to keep a look at, man, because here's the kid from Texas. He's listed on the Heisman. This is the watchful list. Carson Beck from Georgia is 9. 8th is Miller Moss. He put up a hell of a performance here. Running back Ashton Genty from Boise State. QB Dylan Gabriel from Oregon. Nico, I can't pronounce that. I ain't gonna even try to pronounce that. Nico from Tennessee. Wide receiver Travis Hunter, obviously. Jalen Milroe from Alabama is there. Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. And quarterback Cam Ward from Miami. So there you go. That's some of the perceived guys on the Heisman list, there. And then, we still have a ways to go, or whiles to go before any of this. It's still a lot of football left. So who knows for young Garrett Nussmeier, man. If he continues to play well like this, I think it can be a positive. All right. So anyway, Rose says, see y'all tomorrow. I see Tasteful is downgraded to doubtful. Let's go. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate you, brother. All right. So anyway, we're going to get ready to get out on that. I appreciate all you guys for chiming on this episode of Tough Tiger Talk, the watch party recap stream, man. Listen, man, LSU gets the victory 34-17. They're 3-1, 2-0 in conference play. We have South Alabama next week in Death Valley. And they're on a 2-game winning streak. They're 2-2. I'm looking forward to the Tigers getting that victory. Will be 4-1. Heading in, going into the matchup with Ole Miss. So we'll just keep an eye out on everything. But listen, I appreciate you guys sticking with me through this game. Listen, please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on your social media to feed Tough Tiger Talk. We up in this thing, and we'll be back later. Much love. Go Tigers.